everyone, welcome back. Today we'll be talking about upper body, neck, shoulder area. That's one of the areas that tends to get a lot of tension when we dance tango. So for me as a follower, I developed a lot of tension on my right side, and there's a few things that I kind of learned to do for myself to keep the area relaxed and to get rid of some of the pain that develops if there's too much tension. So I wanted to share with you some thoughts on what I believe to be the causes of some of the tension that we have, and then give you a few stretches that I do on a regular basis that help me undo a lot of that tension that happens from dancing for many hours. So let's get started. So let's first talk about why it is that we even develop tension in tango. And this kind of goes back to really thinking about the statement that I really like to talk about, which is form follows function. And thinking about the function, thinking about what it is that you're actually doing when you're dancing tango, holding a particular shape of your body for a really long time. So if you're a follower, and most of my time I've spent following in my years, you're basically holding this position for quite some time. And if you're a leader, it will be this position. So if you think about it, holding up any kind of position in the body for a really long time can be very demanding and actually weakens the body over time. So in my years of teaching yoga, I've always noticed that people who developed chronic conditions like carpal tunnel or lower back pain from sitting improperly for many years, those injuries were much more difficult and much more challenging to identify, to treat, to find a resolution to than something that was more abrupt, like breaking of a bone or dislocating something. And there's some reasons for that. It's kind of like, you know, that idea that if you throw a frog in boiling water, it will jump out, but if you have a frog in tap water and then you turn the water to heat, once it boils, the frog will boil with it because it didn't feel the heat rising. So it's a little bit like that with the body. When we have certain things that we're doing repetitively over and over and the alignment is slightly incorrect, or you know, there's a little bit of compensation in the body here and there, over time those things build up and they result in these chronic conditions around certain parts of the body, and then we think, oh, it's because I'm getting old, or because my body's bad, or I don't know what I'm doing, and it's really just from overusing the body in a certain way. So when it comes to tango, if you think about it, so we dance for several hours at a time. So as a follower, you know, I hold this position, and you know, and then I'm doing all this stuff with my feet, and I'm turning my spine, and so if I have a little bit too much tension to begin with, if I use too much tone in my arm, if I don't have my axis correctly and I'm having to rely on my partner, all of those little things add up and they combine to form, you know, habits of movement that will result in certain tension. If you'd like to join me, go ahead and grab your mat. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to be on our bellies, and you'll stretch out your arms, and I'm going to go ahead and turn my head to the left. Then from here, I'm going to take my right arm and I'm going to turn it in so that the palm faces up towards the ceiling. Bring your left hand in towards your left side and begin to press yourself onto your right side. And the knees can bend here. Depending on your level of flexibility, this might already be quite intense. But if you can go further, you keep pressing yourself onto that right side. And then at this point, the left hand can stay where it is, or you can reach the left hand behind you, reach back and see if you can grab your fingers. This is quite an extreme stretch, so it depends on your flexibility. The head will stay, either can be on the floor, or if it bothers your neck, you can have your head on a block or on a pillow or something like that. So you take a few breaths here. And then slowly release. And then you come back to center, turn your head the other way, and repeat to the other side. So this is kind of the beginning stretch that I usually do. And it will be different from one side to the other depending on your flexibility of your shoulders. So be mindful that you don't push or force anything. Rather, just look for a sensation where the stretch feels pleasant. It feels like you're really getting some sensation, but it's not so extreme that you're holding your breath or, you know, waiting to get out of it any second. So just kind of gauge where you need to be and then come back to center. And so already I think I usually feel some really nice release in this part of the shoulder. The next stretch is going to be more for the outer part of the arm. And so for followers, if you're like me, the right arm is going to be very, very tight. So these stretches I definitely feel a lot more intensely on my right. So what you're going to do is I slide my right elbow across, so as if I'm sliding it to the same level of my left shoulder, and I fold my forearm on top of my upper arm. And then I will release the weight down and allow the head to act as a weight. So I will let the chin kind of hook around the forearm here, and then I allow that pressure to release down. Now this arm here can stay where it is, or if you want a little bit extra, you can stretch this arm back and release more weight on this side. So this is quite nice. So check this out, breathe into it. And then after a few breaths, you can gently lift the head and undo, and then go to the other side. So again, I slide the left arm across, and then I release the weight of my head onto the forearm to serve as a little extra stretch. So really feeling here the sensation of stretching all of that tissue. Now the stretch here really, the sensation I feel is more on the surface of the skin. It's a sharper sensation than stretching a muscle. So for me, it stretches more of the fascia and the connective tissue. So if you feel kind of a warm tingling sensation and it feels very sore, that's more of the connective tissue stretching rather than just muscle. So, and then go ahead and release. Now the next stretch, which will be the last that we do, is the most intense. And so we, for the last pose, we just slid the elbow here and then we put the head on top. For this one, you start out the same way, but this time instead of folding the forearm here, you're gonna bring this hand as if you're trying to reach back behind you. And so it puts you in this angle, and then you allow yourself to release into it. So now I'm gonna allow my weight to begin to release. And for me, I already feel a lot of stretch on the outer arm. It feels quite intense. So this is as far as I can go on my right. Eventually the right arm can reach back, and ideally the left arm can reach behind you and you can grab. So here I can grab my fingers a little bit because I have flexibility in this range, but as you can see on this side here, I can't really bring my arm down. So you want to be really careful here. You can also manipulate where the stretch goes by moving the elbow either up or down, so you can kind of test where it feels the best. Sometimes I kind of use this hand to hold the forearm up and just breathe into it. It's a really, really intense stretch. Because my right side is tighter, I usually will double up on this side. So I'll go right, I'll go to the left, and I'll go right again. So after a few breaths, release, and then we'll go to the other side. So on this side, you'll see on here, I can release quite a bit further down, and this arm relaxes back behind me a lot easier. So you might find yourself kind of in the opposite position. If you're a leader, maybe this side is tighter. It's, you know, it depends on everybody's flexibility. So here, breathing. If you want to try the opposite arm will reach behind, and then you try to slide the arm up, and eventually you can, you know, reach your fingers, but this takes time. So take a few breaths. And then release. Whew. So just from that, my shoulders already feel a lot more warmed up and stretched out. So you should give it a try and see how it feels. I noticed that it really brings relief very fast from a lot of the tension that I get from dancing. So I hope this is helpful to you as well. So give it a try, give me some feedback, send me some comments, and we'll talk to you next week. Bye.